One, two, you know what to do.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Style to Set. I am so excited that you're here. As always, we are so grateful you're joining us to learn about the wild, crazy, wonderful world of food and lifestyle photography and videography and all the amazing people that I know that make these really groundbreaking, visually impactful images. And today I am so thrilled to introduce you to one of my favorite food photography friends, Rebecca. Rebecca is a food and lifestyle photographer from Nashville. She has worked with a whole litany of clients she's worked full-time at Cracker Barrel. She's now working for Delta Digital, which does budgetbytes.com and a lot of other fun food imagery. One of my favorite things about Rebecca is she has a little bit of a different background in photography than some of the other people that we've talked to. So she has a background in doing wedding and lifestyle images, which I feel has given her this really incredible ability to capture a moment, which we'll talk about in a minute, and what she does to do that. She just creates these amazing moments on digital photos. And so anyway, I cannot wait to dive into it with her. We're going to talk about all the things about being on set and behind the camera. And Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Callie. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on, and I'm excited you're doing this podcast and very thrilled to be on. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Oh, my word, my word. So this is a little backstory on me and Rebecca. So Rebecca and I have been friends for a while. And one time when I was pregnant we just have to tell the story.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my, was it
Recipient
Eli
baby,
or
no?
was it Nico?
It was
No,
Nico.
it was Nico because we had Eli.
Yes, we did.
So Rebecca and I are like, hey girl, let's go on a walk. And so we go on a walk at this little park called Shelby Bottoms, which is in East Nashville. And we start walking and Rebecca's like, hey, like, do you know where we're going? I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. This is great. And it's getting a little warm outside, but I'm like, it's fine. I know where I'm going. Well, long story short, somewhere along the way, yours truly here got us so flipping lost in the middle of nowhere in the forest. Okay. They're like deer prancing around across the trail and little turkeys calling. And I'm like, I don't know where the heck we are. And
It wasn't just you, it was both of us. I didn't know either. I had no idea where we were.
we had been walking for probably about an hour where Rebecca was like, hey Cal, like, do you know like when we're going to be done? Or like when we're
I had
heading
to
back?
pick
And
my
I was
son
like,
up from school. I remember
Yeah.
picking my son up.
yeah, I was like, funny you asked that because I think we should probably be back around the loop by now. And that was wild, sis.
The loop never came. And I just remember running ahead of you because I had to go find the way out to get my son from
Yes.
school. And anyway, I don't know. It was
Well, being the problem solvers we are, we're like looking because on your phone when you're in the depths of the Shelby Bottoms forest, your reception's not really working. So when you try and put in walk directions, it's not really taking you anywhere. So I remember we came across this man that was riding like a reclined bicycle.
Yep. And he gave us directions.
He gave us
Did they
directions.
work?
And he's like, where are you trying to go? And we just kind of ran alongside him. I'm like my little pregnant self trying to jog, pushing Eli.
And I was sweating. I know it was
It was so hot.
We made it eventually. We eventually made it.
We did like 2 hours later, we made it back. I was like, I'm not gonna have a heat stroke. Everything's fine.
That was
Anyway, we have not walked Shelby Bottoms since.
That was not our
from
funnest
that-
hour, I would say.
That was-
We made it. It was like all worked out.
we made it through. But that shows you a lot about Rebecca because she stayed completely calm, but she was not phased. She's like, we're gonna figure this thing out.
Yeah. And we did. We did.
And we did. Well, here we are alive today.
Yeah. We had a lot of exercise that day. It all worked out.
We did. It ended up working pretty good. But
yeah.
Anyway, Rebecca, so tell me a little bit about you, Rebecca. Tell me about how you got your start in food and lifestyle photography and where that like love of the camera came from.
Yeah. Well, I have a very, very windy road to food photography, even to photography in general. I started out, I'm going to try to give you the short version, but I started as an English major. I was an English major in college. I always loved photography, but never considered it as a career because I had very practical parents who kind of drilled into me that that is not really a viable career option. So I studied English. I was an English teacher for about 5 minutes. Learned at that time in my life, that was not what I enjoyed doing. It's very hard for a young woman right out of college to be teaching high school English, I found. And so I was teaching in inner city Arkansas, and it was rough, it was difficult. And I just thought, I don't want to do this. So I actually went into journalism because I had English and journalism background, and I was a writer and I worked for newspapers, but I always loved photography, and I actually took a class and then decided this is really what I want to do with my life. And I decided I'm going to do this, and I had to do it in an unconventional way. So I job shadowed my photographer friends at the newspaper. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
how I learned how to do photojournalism. So I really just did that. I worked my day job. I job shadowed at night and worked with them, and eventually worked my way into a photography job at a newspaper, and did that for newspapers in 3 states. So that was my first love, really, was photojournalism. So yeah, worked in Michigan, Arkansas, and New Hampshire as a photojournalist before we moved to Tennessee.
That's so interesting you say that, because Nick Baumgardner, who we were chatting about earlier, who's a photographer in town, also worked for the Tennessean. So he got his start doing photojournalism as well.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. That's right. One reason y'all need to meet of many. But yeah, and that's
absolutely.
cool that y'all both have that in
Yeah,
common.
I had no idea. I know
Yeah.
I loved that when we moved to Tennessee for my husband's job at Vanderbilt. I actually
Mhm.
did not do photojournalism at the Tennessean, but I did work there. I was a writer. I was a writer at the
Yeah.
Tennessean. So, because I had always done both, So,
Mhm.
but I did. I also went to work as a magazine as a writer and editor.
Mhm.
And then I know this sounds crazy, but I was very burnt out at the time with writing. And I had I was doing photography just on my own, but I took a break. I taught preschool. This is totally random
I love
because I
that.
had 2 young children, and I wanted to be closer to
Mhm.
them, and I wanted to spend more time with them. And I could work there, be with them because they were there, and
Mhm.
I would have the summers off. And I got out really, it was
Mhm.
like 9 to 3. And I loved
Mhm.
kids. I loved being near my kids, and I
Mhm.
wanted some space to figure out my next move in life, basically.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I started photographing because I always was photographing. I started photographing children in my class and providing those pictures to parents just as part of, just because I love to do it. And then I ended up
Mhm.
being asked to photograph families and children, of course, because
Mhm.
I was there. I knew
Mhm.
their children very well. I knew the families, and that kind of grew until there was no way I could do both. Like, I started out just practicing before I started charging, of course, but then that grew into a part-time business. And then I just took the real leap of faith and did that full time. And from there, I quickly moved into weddings. And because the photojournalism aspect, I felt very comfortable with storytelling and weddings, and it really was a great fit for me at that time. So I started doing that. I did that for many years as a full-time wedding photographer, until the schedule of weddings and photographing every weekend, nights, really just became like, I just realized that's not how I wanted my life to be, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
also, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no. I feel like there's so much to this story already that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just looking at your process, Rebecca, and how you're developing as a photographer, even taking that side, I wouldn't call it a break, but that little pivot into working in a preschool,
Mhm.
how beneficial that was for you. Did you ever doubt? Because I know sometimes as creatives, as we go on our journey, we'll have different things that come across our plate, and we're like, that feels sort of out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Should I go there? Should I do this? How did you feel taking that preschool job? Because it's not always like our creative journey is not always going to be like this up, 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 up.
Mhm.
It's going to have peaks, it's going to have valleys. When you were in that season, how are you feeling about your creative work and your creative dreams? And did you trust that it was all going to be okay? Or did you have to kind of battle that for a bit? Talk to us through that.
Sure. Everyone thought I was crazy because I left a really comfortable writing and editing job for a company. And, it was a pretty flexible situation, but I just was so burned out. I just felt
Mhm.
I didn't want to do that anymore. And I wanted to be with my kids. Honestly, that was the biggest pull for me at that time. I had my little babies, and I just was having to work all the time at a desk and drop them off at daycare. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I just thought there has to be something different. My husband kind of thought I was crazy, but I just did it anyway. And it did take a while. It wasn't perfect at first, but I had what I really wanted, which was more time with my children. And my summer's free. It allowed us to travel, allowed us to do a lot of amazing things that I would never want to have missed. And out of that, I just had some mind space to sort of just relax and pick up the camera again in a way that felt no pressure. It was just, what do I want to do? I want to take pictures of these beautiful children in front of me, not for money, not for anything, just because they're beautiful. I'm enjoying them. I'm going to provide these to their parents as part of my job. At the end of the day, you send, here's pictures of what we did. And from that, I grew interested in doing that on a more regular basis. And then when people started asking, it was very organic. Like people started asking me, I really want you to do this. And then, so it kind of flowed from there. And so it just, I don't know, it was, all I can say is it was organic and it felt right. And it felt like it came out of, I was able to work in what I had done previously in a way that really felt continuous, like the photojournalism aspect of it. And photographing families, because I had been a preschool teacher, was totally at home with the chaos and had a teaching background as well. It's kind of like all these little things sort of ended up tying together in ways I never would have expected. So I could photograph families and be totally comfortable with the chaos that comes with that because of all the things I had done before. So, yeah.
I love that. And I also see, Rebecca, how you honored feeling burnt out. Because I heard you mention, I felt burnt out, I needed to change. I felt burnt out, I needed to change.
Yeah.
I think often as humans, when we feel burnt out, that comes with a fear of, if I let this go and honor how I'm feeling and take care of myself, I may lose it. I know there have been seasons in my life where I've felt that way. Whatever the thing is that's making me feel burnt out, it's like I used to love this thing and now I feel burnt out. But if I let it go, what could happen?
Yeah.
And I feel like you listen to yourself. I heard it twice now. And then, looking at how you listen to yourself, you went into the preschool world. And then what was birthed out of that was this theme I see throughout your work, which is your beautiful ability to capture a moment. I'm thinking of how you're saying, I just see these beautiful children and I'm just capturing them. And I see that in you of like, oh, do you think that kind of started there, that capture the moment, like enjoyment of that there? What would you say about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think certainly that was part of the photojournalism aspect as well. That was my background. That's always been something I've loved. But because I had sort of stopped that for a while, I didn't know how would I get back into that? And I didn't even know if I ever would, but because I just started taking a step and doing it, and that wasn't even necessarily my intention at the time. It was really just doing what I felt, what made me happy, and taking that step, I think sometimes that can just cause things to happen and you just kind of go in the way that your energy is moving, or if that makes sense. And it just sort of snowballed and it took a little time, but that's just how that happened. And then that led to, of course, I think every photographer has been, if they're doing photography, someone will eventually ask them, will you shoot this wedding? And at first I turned it down and I said, no, I don't think that's where I want to go because of the pressure and everything. But the first time I did it, it felt very comfortable. And that's where that kind of started happening. And I've always done events as well. And so that moment capturing that you're talking about is definitely a part of moments, part of weddings, a part of any kind of like family photography portraits. So it all just kind of came together. And then I kind of thought I would continue with weddings, but like I said, I kind of looked up and my kids were growing up. And then I was like, where am I on weekends and nights? Not at home with them, So that ended up being another transition. So I've been through a lot of transitions, Callie. I don't know. I
I
do not have a
love that.
straight
I love
line.
your story. But it's so beautiful in so many ways because as a mother, right?
Mhm.
And this could be, even if you don't have children, you have something you feel like you're mothering, you're tending to
Mhm.
that pulls your heart.
Yeah.
And it is so beautiful to see you honoring that and going, this is something that is important to me. These are kids that I love and I want to build my life around them because I realize that this is a short season
Yes.
where they won't always be at home and they won't always be here. And I think that that is something that we can trust in ourselves and about ourselves, that if there is something we're tending to, it is worth prioritizing, right? And it is worth sacrificing for. And I think, too, what you said about these moments, like from your creative perspective, Rebecca, what is it that makes a moment magical? Like, how do you know this is the time to click the capture button on my lens? Like, working in weddings, how did you learn that these are the moments that people are going to want to see,
Mhm. Well, I know that when I'm photographing someone, even now, what's related to food and lifestyle, like a lifestyle food, like a chef or something like that, it's like you have to help them feel comfortable and get people to not be thinking about me and the camera and just doing
Mhm.
something that's real and engaging in something that's real. And then, you know, and I do click the camera a lot when it's not that perfect moment, but hopefully, I am capturing that moment as well. But it's
Mhm.
really about trying to capture something authentic that, when I'm photographing like a family or something, I have them interact and it may be something, of course, that's kind of set up or guided. But when they're doing, like when they're hugging or when they're doing, spinning their baby around or whatever, they are in a moment. And
Mhm.
you may just be guiding them into that because people aren't naturally going to
Mhm.
do everything you want them to do. So there is some guidance that you provide, but then you
Yes.
get them to kind of have that real emotion, and then that's when you just take the picture. But you really, they are bringing something to
Mhm.
the shot. And that's what I tell my
Mhm.
students in food photography, that one main difference is that when you're photographing people, people are bringing so much to the image. Like you are
Mhm.
photographing it, but there's so much that they're bringing. But with food, a lot of time, like you are kind of making creating it all in a way, not just you, I mean
Mhm.
food stylists and your team, but
Mhm.
you're kind of having to work to showcase what is the best about that food. But with people, they're really bringing an energy
Mhm.
to it. So I don't know if that answers your question,
Yeah.
but
No, it totally does. Because I was going to ask you, like, okay, you're going from seeing these magical moments, and then, like, you have your background in preschool teaching. So you're learning how to lead people into, like, listening and doing things.
mhm.
But then you make this. Did it feel like a leap from more people focused images to food focused images? Tell me about that transition for you. Did you feel like it was a steep learning curve? Because I've
Mhm.
heard it said before, food is like children. It never wants to show up when company arrives.
Yeah, I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
Yeah. So tell me about what was that like for you? And then how did you take that leap?
So the first time I ever thought about photographing food, I never really had an interest in that but when I did, I saw some images by a photographer. Her name is Ditta Isinger, and I'm not even sure that's how you
Mm.
pronounce it, but she did the photography for Gwyneth Paltrow's cookbooks.
Mhm.
And one of the books was called It's All Good, and she had
Mm.
photographed this gorgeous food and lifestyle imagery. And I'd never really
Mhm.
seen images like this was a while back. I'd never seen
Mhm.
images like that were food and lifestyle together in that kind of gorgeous, I don't know, film-like way. Um, and when I saw that, I was very drawn to it. And I just thought, wow, that feels like I wish I could do that. And just kind of
Yeah, that's
having,
amazing. I'll put her in the show notes.
yeah, absolutely. I was
Yeah.
just like, I wish I could do that. It was just like a real weird like
Mm.
drawing. I was drawn to it. And then but I never really thought about food photography. And it kind of like it's something
Mhm.
I thought about in the background for a while. And when I realized I needed to get out of weddings, not because I didn't love it, because I did love it. I loved it. I was very well
Mhm.
suited for it, but just the schedule,
Mhm.
I couldn't live. When you're in weddings, your whole life is basically organized a year or two ahead of time because you book a year or two
Mhm.
out. And
Mhm.
anyway, so it did take me a year or two to transition out of it. But in the
Mhm.
meantime, I was slowly starting to explore food photography on my own in the background and
Mhm.
just think about how do I photograph this food that I've never tried to photograph before?
Yeah.
How is it different? And just really learning from scratch. And I took a lot of really bad photos at first. And
What was your first food shoot ever? Do you remember what was the first thing you ever
like
shot?
on my own, or like a
Yes.
real, like a professional one, or just like myself.
Either one, either one.
I cannot remember exactly what it was, but it was, I think it was, which is a terrible choice, but I feel like it was like chili or something, which is a
Yeah,
horrible,
yeah. Oh,
horrible
woof,
choice.
that is
I don't know what
tough.
I was thinking.
But when you're starting out, you don't know that. You're like, "Oh, I like to
Exactly.
eat chili. Chili will be great." Yes.
So true. Yeah. I think I was
Yeah,
thinking like in my
uh-huh.
mind, like cozy winter chili vibes
Yes.
or something.
Did you
And
make the chili yourself?
yes, it was some
Okay,
that
good.
I think my husband had made it because he's actually
Okay,
a
yes.
much better cook than I am. But uh,
Oh, I love that, yeah.
yeah, so and I had some inspiration images, and I was
Mhm,
like down in the garage. I was using like an open garage with the light from the garage, thinking that would be good. And I
mhm,
mean, I I think I liked them at the time, and I look back and I'm like, that
mhm.
was so bad, so bad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and this is
You're
what I'm
learning and
telling,
growing.
yeah, I tell my students
Yeah.
like, I took I mean, I still, of course, like take bad pictures in pursuit of good pictures, but like you will
Mhm,
take bad pictures and you will be disappointed, and you just have to keep doing it and keep practicing
mhm.
and keep
100%.
learning, and step by step by step, you will eventually learn how to do this. And because a
Mhm,
lot of them are coming from photographing people and loving
mhm,
photographing people and not sure they even want
mhm,
to photograph food, but they have to take this class.
mhm, mhm,
So that's where I was, and I just kept looking at her images. Not that I was trying to copy them, but just I
mhm,
wanted that feel of the lighting and that kind of thing. And
mhm,
so
mhm,
I just kept striving for that, and took a lot of classes, took a lot of online classes, got a business mentor, started, doing. I did some shoots for free because I
mhm,
wanted to
mhm.
practice and I wanted to
Yeah,
learn, and I wasn't confident in charging yet. And, so that's
yeah.
part of that. And part of me was like, oh, I'm starting over, I'm starting
Mhm.
over again.
Yes.
Why? And also
Yeah.
knowing when you start over, like you're going to shoot things that you're going to look back in a year and think that they're terrible. And I didn't want to, I
Mhm,
was like,
mhm,
why? I'm going to have to go through this again. So I was a little
mhm.
scared, but also more than being scared, I wanted to do it. So I
Mm.
just, that's what I did.
More than being scared, I wanted to do it. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, our work is so humbling, right? It's
Mhm.
like I don't think there's ever been one shoot I've been on where I'm like 100% confident I'm gonna know how to do everything. I don't think that exists. I think there can even be brands I've worked with for so many years and they change the formulations on mayonnaise or products or
Mhm.
the breading and it's a whole new learning curve. Like we're always in that place of I feel like humbly coming to set and going like, okay, I'm here to serve
Yes.
and I'm gonna take some hits along the way.
Yes.
And that's totally good. Cause I think about your images and I'm like, if I think about it, like if I was to look back on those, and this is something I have to remind myself too, go like, look how far I've come.
Yeah.
Like this image, it was me taking a risk and I honor that, but now look at what I can do. And I think the same for you. Like what an amazing, beautiful statement to your personality that you would go, I'm going to learn all over again. Like I'm going to take this on all over again
Ah,
because I want it more than I fear it.
yeah.
Come on,
It's
that's
crazy.
awesome.
It's crazy. It's a
Yeah.
little crazy.
Is there a moment that sticks out in your head of when you were first shooting food where you were like, there's no way I'm going to figure this out or this feels like too big of a challenge? Did you ever feel that way?
Oh man. Um, I mean, I feel like by the time I started charging, I
Hmm.
felt like I had to feel confident in my lighting,
You felt confident.
especially.
Yeah. Hmm.
No, well, don't get
Hmm.
me wrong, like I don't always feel confident, but I felt like
You felt ready. Yeah.
I've got the tools to make it
Yeah.
happen. Like I wouldn't have ever
Yeah.
gone into something if I didn't know how to use artificial light or something like where I had the tools, but definitely
Mhm.
I felt times when like, how exactly am I going to like
Mhm.
this, or you know, on the in
The
the moment,
finesse sort of it.
on
Yeah,
location.
yeah.
Yeah, I do have one story that reminds me of if you want to hear it, but
Oh my gosh, I would love to hear it. I love these stories.
okay.
Please share, share, share.
Well, so it was one I had photographed and this is by this time I have transitioned to food. You know, I'm pretty much only doing food
You're like
photography.
all food pretty
Pretty
much. Yeah,
much, food
okay.
and lifestyle. I
Yeah.
mean, I love photographing people. So and one thing about food and restaurant photography is that you often get to incorporate people in that lifestyle. So that is a great match for me because I do get to do some of that as well. But this restaurant, it was a hotel with a restaurant in it. And so I had photographed, it was like a full day shoot, and I had photographed upstairs in the bar area, some different food and drinks, and then moved downstairs. And I always try to bring an assistant with me. So I had an assistant.
Mhm, mhm.
Wish I'd had a food stylist, but a lot of times with restaurants, the
Yeah.
chefs want to sort of be the stylist kind of. We moved downstairs and I photographed the
Mhm,
food, did a couple of interior shots. I think I had done a chef
mhm,
headshot. And then, that's a pretty full day. And then, but
mhm.
then there was one last shot that they had wanted me to do, which was not on the shot list or anything, but it was just kind of like, oh, hey, can you do this shot too? Which happens a lot. And I try
Mhm.
to, if I can, do that. They were wanting to promote their Tea with Santa event coming up.
Okay,
And so
okay.
they wanted to, this is in a dark restaurant, and they wanted to
Uh-huh.
have the food and beverage manager put on like a Santa arm, like a Santa
Yeah.
suit arm with a white glove, and they wanted to hold a cookie over a plate of cookies and then have like this shiny teapot next to it. And that's the
Mm.
shot. And so I was like,
Oh, man.
okay, what'd you say?
Oh, shoot. Yes, that "Oh, man, oh, shoot."
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
yeah,
many things happen. Bright white glove, shiny, reflective, teapot,
exactly.
steaming something maybe. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And in a dark restaurant, and to make this kind
Oh,
of look natural. And
mhm.
so, I just was like, oh, and how am I going to do this? And so I ended up
Mhm.
using my umbrella and reflectors and different things. And my assistant was holding things, and we did it. And it was funny because the food and beverage manager is holding his Santa hand here. And I'm like, okay, up and down. And, and it was just
Exciting, yes.
very strange, but it worked out. Okay. Well, I did my best. And that was a
Oh.
small thing. It was the small thing at the end. And then, went on and delivered everything, and everything's great. And then
Mhm.
like a couple weeks later, the chef texted me and said, hey, your photo's on a billboard at Fifth and Broad. And I was like, oh, which one? And I was like
Yeah.
totally like excited. And she was like,
Yes.
it's the Santa hand. It's the Santa hand image. And I was just like,
Oh my
oh
word.
no. Because in my mind, that was not the best
Oh,
image from that shoot. But it was like, okay. And I went and looked at it, and it actually looked great. It looked fine.
so good.
But it was not like the finest shot from that
Yeah,
day
right.
or anything. I certainly did not expect it to be on a billboard. It was a last minute grab shot, but you just never know what's going to happen,
No.
and you just do your best and bring your best tools to it. And it turned out to be the
Yeah.
first billboard that I'd ever been on, and certainly didn't expect it. So
I love it. The Santa hand got you there.
the
That's
the
amazing.
Santa hand
But that's
with the white
that
glove.
is such a set story. It's like you're on set doing I was doing a shot last week with they had a lens. It was literally inside the cup with the ice. So the lens is like underneath the ice, and so it's not called a snoot. It's called a snoot is the light. It's like starts with an S anyway. And it's in the ice, and they're like the last 10 minutes of the shoot, it's almost about to wrap, and they're like, hey, could you just pour tea into the cup at the same speed that this camera is coming up out of the cup, and I don't need you to get any liquid on the lens, and I need for you not to get any liquid on the red wrap that's underneath it. So we're gonna need to do this like right now perfectly.
Oh gosh.
I was like, oh my word, oh my word. Okay, got this. Take a deep breath, say a prayer.
Yeah.
And it ended up being one of the coolest shots that I have ever seen because the lens inside the ice looked like tiny crystals. And then as the brown liquid starts to fill it up and the camera's raising and you start to realize it's crushed ice with this gorgeous tea. And there's like bright, yellow lemon on the rim of the glass. I mean, it was such an epic shot, but definitely feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so strange. And what the heck, this could go so wrong. But then isn't it just like what happens is for the marketing team to choose that as the shot that's the best shot of all time, like the Santa Claus shot and Santa Claus and that was a billboard and it worked out beautifully. But you also took the risk and you were like, I can figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at certain
amazing.
times like that, like you did, which I want to see that shot, by the way. Like, hopefully I'll get to see that sometime. It sounds amazing.
I will, if the ad is out by the time this episode comes out, I will send it to you and we'll put it in the show notes because it was crazy. But it's just like our world. They're like, oh, actually, and somehow it always happens in like the last 10 minutes of the shoot. Like when everybody's ready to go home and tired and we're like almost about to pack up our gear and they're like, oh yeah, could we actually dunk a chicken finger into a vat of sauce and then make it come out as a rainbow? You're like, what?
Right. It's
so
funny. It's so true. It's like you just never know. And you bring the skills that you know of. And you're right. You say a little prayer and you're just like, oh, let this work out. And you do your best. And hopefully it does. So
absolutely. No. And your work it is so impactful for many reasons, but the thing, like I was saying earlier, there's several things that stands out to me, and I want to ask you about that because you've learned how to capture a moment. I feel like when I see your work, it's this beautiful interplay of light and contrast and lightness and darkness that all come together to create something that stands out in your mind. But I want to talk to you too about how you've learned this capturing a moment. You've learned you're enjoying the kind of freelance life. And then you move into taking a full-time job at Cracker Barrel. And what was that like for you? And tell me about that experience and what it was like for you as a photographer.
Yeah. So, and that again came out of really wanting to, it kind of maybe sounds counterintuitive, but I wanted a set schedule. I lived the freelance life for 10 years and it was really great. I mean, I'm so glad I learned so much and so many things to love about the freelance life, but I really was wanting to just like but I just wanted to have a set schedule. And there are drawbacks to having that because you don't have the freedom necessarily, certainly not of the freelance life, but you also have the certainty of your paycheck. I always had a lot of work. Maybe it's partly because boundaries. I have trouble with boundaries sometimes.
Don't we all?
Yeah, when I was taking that work, like I had plenty of work, but I just wanted a nice set schedule. And I could go to work and do my job and develop relationships with the team and go home and have my weekends free and my nights free. I just really felt like I needed that for stability of mind and I don't know, just some stability around my family life and being able to determine when are we going on vacation, when can I travel, or whatever it might be. So I kind of was looking for that when I saw the Cracker Barrel job announcement. And I applied and didn't really know what was going to happen, but it really sounded perfect. And I applied and I love Cracker Barrel. I had memories growing up going to Cracker Barrel and everything. So I got the job and started work there. And there are so many wonderful things that came out of that. I had also wanted to work on a big national set, which I had not done in that way before. I had done some shoots for national hotels, but not really a restaurant that was national like that. So it's a very
Cracker Barrel's a legend. I mean, it's so symbolic in the South, and I'm sure all over the country of like, family memories. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I loved the brand, and I was so thrilled to go and work there and work on a commercial set and have that experience of, yes, I had the set schedule, and yes, I'm still doing photography, but also I get to work around these amazing, talented people. I get to really, for the first time, consistently work with food stylists. It's such a luxury. It's so amazing. I mean, it feels like it's just so great because in the past, I had done either the chefs had done the food styling or I would kind of help with the food styling. I learned a lot of tricks along the way, but I certainly don't consider myself a food stylist. But having that was just incredible. We had a prop stylist, a digital tech, producers. And so that for me was just a huge change in a good way of seeing how that works and how all the different departments work together, how it's organized, how a shooting day runs, because there are so many people involved in those shoots, from the culinary department to the marketing to all the different freelance people and producers, and there are even more. I mean, so many people.
And you know what?
So,
Rebecca, this would actually be a good chance for you to explain to us, because there are several people listening to the podcast that are like, she's talking about a producer and a culinary director, and who are all those people?
yeah.
So give us an example day in the life of you doing a Cracker Barrel shoot from start to finish. What does that schedule look like? What are people doing? Because I know people out there are like, how do they get the macaroni and cheese to look so amazing? Well, there are so many steps and so many people involved to getting all of that set up. So take us through like a day in the life of you on a Cracker Barrel shoot from start to finish and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So you come in the morning, and there's usually a pre-light time where you get everything set up, lighting wise, set up, and the set all ready for the actual shoot. And we had the luxury of having a digital tech person who would help with the lighting, and he runs the computer, because you shoot tethered. Your camera's tethered to a computer and to monitors, so multiple people on set can see what's being captured. Food stylists can see what they're doing. You can see the live view, see what they're doing when they're styling, which I know you know all about that. And
No, but listeners don't. So please give all the details. And are you shooting in a studio? Are you shooting on location? Tell us about that.
yeah, absolutely. So we, Cracker Barrel, they have a beautiful giant studio. It's giant. I don't know the square footage, but it is sort of like a warehouse, and a big equipment room, and a big, basically warehouse kind of space that is big enough to have 2 or even 3 sets running at the same time. So
It's awesome.
yeah, so it's a really wonderful space. And so you're always shooting in the studio, not very often on location. They do have people come in who do social media shoots on location in the stores. And they usually have 2 food stylists with multiple assistants. Because
there's so much work that goes into
so much
that.
work. Oh my goodness. I did not even, and that's one thing I learned, which was extremely valuable. I learned so much, but just all that goes into these big shoots. And you have 2 food stylists, but multiple assistants, because there are people about preparing the food and chopping and getting everything ready and baking and sorting and just plating and everything. So actually the plating takes place on the set, but anyway, so food stylist, and then we have a culinary person who was there to make sure that it is the same that you would receive in the store, because they, you have a certain number of green beans that you receive as a customer. You have a certain size of chicken, so the culinary person is there to make sure that looks correct. Then there is a producer who is the person who organizes the shoot, schedules everything,
Keeping track of the shot list.
Yes, the shot list, the logistics, orders the lunches, all of those things. Who else is on? There are marketing people who are there to oversee the shoot, to produce, or to just make sure that everything is looking the way it needs to be, to approve it, basically. There would be, at least one, sometimes many people there to approve. And there's the photographer. And then there's a prop stylist as well. And the prop stylist job is to provide the plates, the glassware, the linens or napkins, anything to do with the vessels and the look of what's going into the setup. So
so what Rebecca is saying is the shoots are so fluid. There are several people moving at once. You have the prop stylist setting up the table and the plates and the linens and the flowers, and everything goes into. I'm thinking about, for example, I was looking at Cracker Barrel's website, which I'm sure you've already shot you've shot the Easter spread with the ham and the macaroni and cheese and the green beans and the carrots. So there, not only are there like pre-discussions happening about like what plates and what linens and what glassware should we use on this, there's also pre-discussions discussions about the food and the serving size, and because there are FCC guidelines on with brands, we have to represent the to the ounce, if we can,
Yes.
the amount of food that a customer would actually receive when they're sitting down at a Cracker Barrel. So as a stylist, you can't just go, oh, this amount of green beans looks good. Well, no, there's going to be marketing and culinary people on set that when I, bring the green beans, or the stylist for Cracker Barrel brings the green beans out,
Yes.
they're approving that looks like enough green beans, that looks like too little green beans. Does the bowl look correct for the serving size in the store? Does it look a little too fancy? Does it look a little too plain? Does it feel like our brand? So Rebecca is capturing, it's like, and there are many voices talking to Rebecca in her head of, is the lighting right? Are the props right? Is the food right? Is it all cohesively coming together? And then also, I'm sure, Rebecca, you've talk us through if you have someone that's like scooping something out of the bowl, or there's like a hand model that comes in. How does that go as well?
So first of all, you said that so well. That is exactly what
Oh,
happening. That was so perfect. Yes.
well, I don't know about that.
All of the moving parts. Yes, yes. Well, actually, until recently, Cracker Barrel did not allow hands in its photography.
Interesting.
But
I did not know
yeah,
that. How
yes.
interesting.
But when I was there for almost 3 years until March. I left in March to take the job at Delta Digital. But
Which we're going to talk about that too, yeah.
I was there at a really interesting and good time where they were going through a transition in their photography, in their marketing, their branding. They're like refreshing their stores,
Cool.
renovating their stores, modernizing things a tiny bit, not enough to like
Mhm.
be totally different, but just like a
Mhm.
refresh, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that's great. How cool that you were there during that time.
yeah, so there was a lot of different sort of experiments of different types of photography happening during that time.
Mhm.
Some
Mhm.
different consultants brought in during that time.
Mhm.
And so out of that, you'll see a new look coming out of Cracker Barrel. And I was able to shoot some of that before I left. I get like 2 billboards you'll be seeing in, I think, June maybe, that I shot.
That's
But it's
awesome.
completely different. And some of the billboards are already up, but you'll really notice a different style of Cracker Barrel, which I think is really cool. I think it's a
Mhm.
really different style. So they are now allowing more hands, a little more imperfection kind of things going
I
through.
love it. Did you shoot the one that's sticking out in my mind is in Nashville? I can't remember which interstate it is. It's the cookie. It's like the Oreo cookie sandwiches that are
I
stacked on
did
top of each other with the
not. No, I did
okay.
not shoot that, but I know exactly the one you're talking about. It's really cool. That was shot
Yeah,
by
it's
a
a different.
photographer. Yeah, no, that is the
Ah,
style that they're moving toward. But
cool.
yeah, that was shot by a photographer in Chicago. I cannot remember his name. I never met him,
Yeah.
but they are now moving the billboard production to the Nashville office, from what I understand.
Okay.
And I was able, before I left, to shoot 2 summer billboards there. So before they had always done it in Chicago, but now it's moving
Mhm.
to Nashville. So, but you'll notice a different style, which is cool.
I love that. What do you think is the overarching lesson you took from shooting for a national brand like that and national campaigns? Like, what do you think is, if you could boil down what you really learned working there as opposed to before when you were freelance, what do you feel like you really took away from that?
I'd say probably the planning aspect of it.
Mm.
I learned so much. I mean, I learned a lot of different things. Working with a big team was really cool, but really
Mhm.
the planning is something that
Mm.
I will always take forward with,
Mm.
the other shoots that I do, because it was very, very, just very planned. So you just knew
Mhm.
exactly what was happening. Everyone knew their role, everyone knew the direction, everyone knew. Not to say that things didn't happen or things maybe took longer or
Yeah.
what got ahead or whatever it might be, but I would say just the amount of planning and working with the multiple different departments, how it all came
Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
That is the main thing. There are many things, like working with all the
Mhm.
talented people. I loved being able to work with food stylists. That was so
Mhm.
eye-opening and life-changing. Like, everyone needs to work with food stylists. I'm not joking.
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
seriously. And
Yeah.
just so many different niches in the industry that not everyone even knows about, I think.
Mhm. Mhm.
But really, for me, it's just the amount of planning that allows
Mhm.
you to, in some ways, some freedom, because you have really planned. So
Yes, I think advanced planning is huge. Whenever I encounter new projects or new clients, there are certain questions now I'm learning to ask because that foreknowledge of what I'm going to need to know is so game changing to have in your hands. And I think that even on smaller sets, like I don't think you can ever be too overplanned. Like I think especially when it involves food, and food is such a timely creature where it needs to come out at certain spots when it's ready, when it's hot, when it's steaming, fill in the blank when it's really cold. There's such a timing to shooting food that advanced planning, that producer role of planning out every shot on the list and what time we're capturing those shots and what camera angle we're doing, how the lighting will be. I mean, it is just night and day
Yes.
from being beautiful and peaceful and lovely to being a train wreck.
Yes.
I mean, I think
100%.
planning is the difference between great shoots and train wreck shoots.
Yes.
It's really boils down to planning, I think, in communication.
Yes. Yes. But exactly. Planning and communication, 100% between, like you said,
Yes.
lovely shoot or a train wreck shoot. 100%.
Yes.
Yes.
And I hate train wreck shoots. Like I don't want to be on a train wreck shoot. So let's
Nobody
try not to
knows.
do that.
No.
No, girl, it's awful. It's like pulling teeth. So, okay. So for you, you now are at Delta Digital. So how are you taking that planning lesson that you've learned? How are you taking like your beautiful capture the moment eye? Like what is your goal being there? What are you hoping to accomplish? Like what is that going to look like for you?
Well, one reason I was so attracted to Delta Digital is the beautiful organic natural photography on their website.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
It's so nice. And I am hoping, of course, to continue that tradition there. But that is
Yeah.
really, I was very drawn to their style of photography and just the mission that they have. It's a smaller team. It's still a national kind of thing, but it's a smaller team. And I have more input into the creative direction of each shoot or each shot.
Oh, I love that.
Because, well, like at a large company, a large brand like Cracker Barrel or other brands, necessarily it's very different. You really don't have, as a photographer, you don't have a lot of input into what you're shooting or how you're shooting it because of the nature of it. But in this role that I have now, I do have the creative license to be involved in the colors that we use and the props and the back and the surfaces and the lighting that we use and all of that. And that's really important to me to like just creatively felt like the right direction I wanted to go in. And I will take that planning piece, and I've started kind of just pre-planning shoots. I mean, I've always pre-planned shoots, but pre-planning like the colors, not just necessarily winging it on set, but really thinking about the colors
Yes.
to use, using the color wheel and using the, contrasting colors for a surface and the linens that are chosen. And
I can't wait to see what you come up with.
what's that?
I can't wait to see what you come up with. It's going to be lovely.
I hope so. I'm really.
I hope they're giving you a food stylist. I hope you have a stylist of some sort that's helping you.
We have recipe developers who do some food
great.
styling
That's so great.
as well. And
Good.
there are 3 recipe developers. And one thing that's really great that they do is they create recipes at least 3 times before it goes on the website to just ensure.
That is such a game changer.
Yeah.
They're going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah, I'm excited about.
Oh, I can't wait. Are they located in Nashville? I didn't ask you.
There is a studio their studio is in East Nashville.
Oh, yay, great.
Yeah, so that's another thing. It's a 30-minute drive for me instead of an hour each direction. So
hallelujah.
Yeah.
Because in Nashville traffic, that's horrendous. Like it could be an hour, but it's actually 2. Like it's just your whole day drive. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
Yeah, 100%. Rebecca, you have been such a joy to have on. Like, I just really can't wait for people to see all of your work because Rebecca sent me some images just to look over before we talked. And I was just like, I want to keep scrolling. I want to keep looking at them because everyone tells a story and I feel like you can see in your images your journey and your heart behind what you're capturing and your attention to the feel of a moment and just being present with it, just like you were present with your emotions and honoring when you felt burnt out and when you wanted to make a change. Like you took that risk and you did it and you did it beautifully. And you can see that same chutzpah, I guess is what you would call it, in your images, which I love about you. But something else that I see and all of your work. And this is a question that I like to ask all of my podcast guests is there is this running theme of beauty, this gift of beauty on the lives of every single person I've talked to. You can see it in their work. You can see it in their perspective. And so I like to ask everybody, what does beauty mean to you, Rebecca? And what does beauty look like in your creative work?
Wow, that's such a big question. But
I know it's deep.
but I think more and more, I might have answered that question differently 10 years ago, maybe, but I think that
Mm,
more and more now for me, beauty is just
mm,
like real, and
mm,
it's connection, it's authenticity, it's a
mm,
little bit of imperfection,
mm,
it's a feeling that you get with other people. It's more of a feeling of authenticity is the best way I can say it, than it is a certain look of something, but it's how you feel and feeling a feeling of realness or being seen or connecting. That to me is really beautiful.
mm. I love that. What a perfect way to end it. Because I see that authenticity and that beauty in your work. And I cannot wait for other people to see it too. Oh, friend,
Kelly.
you have been such a joy. You have been
You-
such a pleasure and a privilege. And I am just wishing you the best of success with Delta Digital, with Budget Bites, with all this beautiful food that you're shooting. It is going to be epic. And I cannot wait to see how your creative direction comes into play.
Thank you, Callie. So this has been such a
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
You're so good at this. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has been so much fun. I appreciate it.
oh,
Thank you.
yay. Well, I'm so happy for people to know you. You guys, I will put all of Rebecca's information in the show notes below. Best ways to, if you want to hire Rebecca, if you want to get in contact with Rebecca, just shoot the breeze with Rebecca. I will make sure all that information is below. And Rebecca, you're amazing. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day, sister.
Thank you. You too, Callie. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.